Hello, internets. This is BoneCarlos coming to you live from Derelict Watcher to bring you another StarCraft 2 shoutcast commentary kind of thing with me, my little buddy, my little friend. Well, actually, I don't know if you're not. Are you little, Nav? How tall are you?
5'8", average.
5'8"? Oh, that's not bad, dude. My good average friend, Nav. How you doing, Nav?
Pretty good. Just never call me buddy. I really hate buddy.
You really hate buddy? Oh, amigo, is that good?
Yeah, that's much better. Anything said in Spanish is always better.
Órale, compadre, vámonos pues. All right, the players today are going to be Wurst spawning as the red Zerg. His opponent is going to be ViperXkT spawning as the blue Terran, a TVZ, your specialty. Isn't that correct, compadre?
That is correct. That is correct. This is probably one of the most dynamic, fun matchups to me. In fact, because you can almost guarantee most of the time, unlike the Bro Toss, the current metagame does not require them to all-in you every single game.
Oh, I sense some cheekiness coming from you. Jerome is going to go ahead and cross the map on his usual scouting parameters. These guys are Masters level player. This is an interesting map. I mean, this is just a huge wide open area. A couple of gas vents there to obscure vision. A couple of little gaps in the terrain there in the middle and the sides. This is both the players know where their spawning locations are. It is a cross map. So what do you expect out of these players? What do you want out of these players?
Personally, I want to see mech because that's the type of player I am, and I love to steal little tidbits and strategies from other mech players. One of which is HTS Mario. Just you guys really want to check him out. I'm just saying the guy's amazing.
Alright, we'll just drop him off, put something in the description, maybe a link to his VODs here and there. Right now, Viper's going to go ahead and get nibbled away by Wurst. He's going to put down a supply depot to block off this expansion. I'm pretty sure he's not going to finish that because this SCV is actually going to go down. While at the same time, another SCV is going to go ahead and... Ooh, what?
It's always kind of scary though when you block off a Zerg's natural like this, because that's gonna make them react in a very volatile way. A lot of times involving a Baneling bust.
And speaking of volatility, we have a command center first out of Viper. If I were Wurst right now, I would be licking my chops here, because command center first. Obviously, I can't expand normally. Why not just aggress the hell out of Viper at this point? What would be the drawbacks of that?
It just all depends on what he did and if he lost anything because of it. Because the tricky part about Zerg is the fact that they sacrifice, drones for combat units. So if you make a combat unit, you need to make sure something happens with it. You can't just lose it or let it sit there. It has to do something with them. Otherwise, you should have made drones.
Very true. And right now, the command center is about 80% done. Wurst, his hatchery is about 40% done, climbing up to 50. Roach Warren going down on the field. Looking at the income tab, harvester count about the same, 19 to 18 in the favor of Wurst. His command center is going to finish it up in a couple of seconds. He has a little bit of supply block. This Marine is just itching to come out. There it goes. The training has commenced. Bunker at the front. That was just expected. And we only see one refinery, so I'm interested to see what Viper really has up his sleeve, because we're obviously not going to see some high-tech play for quite a bit with that early orbital command that's being trained or built, warped in, upgraded at the moment, and another bunker is being put down, so double bunker at the front. While at the same time drones are being transferred. We're going to go ahead and catch this SCV. Down it goes. It's not going to return home to its family. It's going to die, just going to die a death.
Die a death.
It's going to die a death, and Wurst is actually putting up a bunch of roaches. We're not going to go ahead and harken back to that in any shape or way or form. We're just going to go ahead and move on. And like I was saying, Wurst, he did salivate. He did pull up those roaches, but it's not going to do anything against these three bunkers. I mean, if they cross, that is a huge crossing distance across this map. And once they get there, they're going to have plenty. A couple of Marines are going to be in there. So this third bunker is definitely going to get finished before it gets before the roaches get there. Is this enough to hold it? There's 3 Marines in there, 4 coming in. There's quite a few SCVs there for repair. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 roaches. Wow. One SCV is going to get picked off. Oh, nope. And now it does. This is the worst possible situation for Wurst to be able to be in.
Yeah, this is not something he wants to do. I would have really just concentrated on a real strong Baneling bust, find a chink in the armor, which in this case would probably be one of these bunkers on the corner. Just get in there, run in with Ling, use the Banes to take out all the workers that you can. No real wall in the front, so you get Lings up into the main too.
Definitely true. I mean, yeah, and that's the one thing that I myself have learned when going up against Terran. Once they get those bunkers up, you really don't want to attack it unless you have just an overwhelming number. And with the fact that he was delayed so much at his natural expansion, and he just spent so many resources on those roaches that are now useless, it's not enough to break that. So you either want to go one of two things, like a Baneling bust, as you said, if you're a Zerg player. I mean, overwhelm your opponent, or just macro heavily up and hope he doesn't hit you, 8 minutes later with a massive amounts of Marines with a couple of Marauders sprinkled in. But right now, Factory is finally going down. We're going to go ahead and see Siege mode. Gonna be researched. Actually, not even be researched. It's done research as soon as it's built the armory and engineering base. So an interesting little bit of a build going from a Viper. While in Wurst base, we still only see, well, actually, finally see 2 extractors, but nothing beyond Lair Tech, because Lair isn't even done yet.
Yep, it is on its way down here. Oh, nope. Lair just finished, actually.
So what can he do? I mean, he doesn't really have that much of a bank of gas. Marine's gonna find all of these roaches there, just hanging out. Says nope, I'm gonna head on back. And really, with this is a little bit of an interesting stance. So finally, a queen. They're gonna go ahead and pop out at the natural expansion. What can Wurst do here? I mean, can he try some sort of Nidus network here? What do you think?
I mean, he could always do that. I mean, honestly, right now he's very well saturated as natural. His main could use a little bit more saturation, but no real complaints. His third base is getting up here. I just like to see, yep, grab that other gas in his natural, grab 2 gas here, and just get up to a hive. And I'd say quick Ultralisk would really crush this if he just rushed to grab that hive. Grabbed Ultralisk, grabbed these 2 gas from his third base. By the time he got that tech up and done, he could have a sufficient amount of Ultralisk and just go in with Ultra Ling and just plow right through.
Wouldn't that be? That would actually be fun to watch. It doesn't look like he's going there. I mean, he does have an infestation pit down. Don't think he's going up to Hive Tech just yet. So I would love for him to actually do that, since really there's no aggression out of Viper. He's just been macroing up like a beast. The harvester count is generally it's about the same, 52 to 58. But with the power of those mules, really just evens it out and actually tips it in the favor of his Terran against his Zerg player. And barracks are being put down a third command center. Viper is just sitting pretty. He is just sitting pretty.
Yep, except he does need to make sure he saturates both his gases in the future, though, because his natural only has one of the gas guys he's only got 1 guy on him. Something to watch out for. I do that myself a lot of the time, especially when someone harasses and they target the gas SCVs or workers. Yeah. You tend to forget sometimes to put them back.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but definitely. And this is a very lean army. It looks like Viper's just very focused on his economy right now, and he has a nice mixture of units. I mean, he has Hellbats for Zerglings, Marine Marauder, obviously a single siege tank. The Wurst has pretty much. Does he even have any units? I mean, it looks like Viper's gonna go ahead and push out. He's up to 66 drones, but he only has those 18 roaches and 2 infestors. If those infestors could land some fungal growths, not as powerful as they were in Wings of Liberty, but if he could land them, catch all of these Marines, it could spell trouble. And this medevac is going to go ahead and squirt right around the edge and right in between really Wurst's vision. Now, he might have caught a sight of that, but really he didn't. Finally, the creep set is spreading. A couple of Lings are going to go ahead and run around the map. They might actually catch this medevac full of Marines, and yep, they do walk past it. If Wurst sees it, it'll be great for him. It doesn't look like he did, though, because he is not responding to it.
Which is kind of sad, because he has all these overlords all over the place. Those Lings running around. He now has the tower, so he has all the vision he could hope for.
Yep, just
with this kind of thing right here, and this creep threat in the middle kind of concerns me a little, because it's spreading out nicely, but it's really only 1 tumor per, so it'd be very, very, very easy to clean up.
And finally, it looks like Wurst finally realizes there is a squad of Marines in his base. They're going to push forward, take out a queen, maybe take out 2. Roach is going to just go ahead and stream forward, take down 1 Marine. 2 Marines. Finally, Viper just says, I'm going to pick up, head on home, ignite the afterburners. There they go. Head on home. Only lost 2 Marines. Managed to kill off a Queen and maybe a Roach or 2, but that's a job well done in Viper's point of view. But like you were saying, here comes Wurst. Infestor, Roach. He has plenty of Infestors. He got enough for a couple of fungal growths per. This could hit pretty well. There's a couple of siege tanks there for defense. Nice, decently spread out. Marines there. If these Marines fall very quickly, it could be over. A couple of volleys from the siege tanks finally hit into that Roach. And these Roaches, there are a ton of Roaches. Beautiful fungal growth on the left flank of Viper. The siege tanks do go down. One more into the back of the map. Looks like fungal growths keep putting down. Wow. I did not expect that to happen.
Yeah, expect that fight to be a little more one-sided in the Zerg's favor because of the one siege tank wasn't spread out, wasn't sieged. But this just really goes to show you the power of 1-1 versus 1-0, and those medvacs really paid dividends right there.
I mean, the fungal growths landed very well, but Viper just spread out his army decently to avoid that huge damage that could have been possibly done. While at the same time, Wurst took his 4th. So, yes, he traded. I mean, he did trade a lot of Roaches, but again, they are just Roaches. 75-25, 2 supply each. Once this game goes on in another 5 minutes or so, though, it actually would have been a hindrance to the Zerg forces. So, interesting trade. Looking at the loss count, we see units lost around the same, but resources definitely do favor a Viper by about 1,500 resources, and it looks like Viper's deciding to push forward and finally take advantage of something, do a little bit of aggression, really keep his Zerg player off guard, because if you let him drone up heavily like Wurst hasn't been doing, Viper actually has 75. There he goes, a fresh pop of drones finally catches up to Viper. Fungal growth, beautiful, hits nearly everything. Another one's going to go ahead and chain react. And one more might actually finish these guys off. And look at these. Wow, Viper is just walking into these fungal growths, isn't he?
He very much is. And I really see the fact that fungal growth is not nearly as good as it was before. Because originally that was the bane of my existence.
Yeah, they're no longer a spell. They're now a projectile, which is... which, if you're a very good player, you can actually dodge those with a quick stim to a Marine army. But Viper decided not to do that. He does have 200 supply available to him, 179 currently. Another fungal growth does hit quite a bit of units. No splits by Viper. He just feels very safe. And now he finally does manage to split off his Marines. They're going to go ahead and just hang out and hold and see what they can do. Roaches, it looks like Roaches, Hydralisk, Queen there. I mean, Wurst is going to throw everything, but the siege tank, these siege tanks are doing the damage that need to be done.
They really are. And one thing I just want to point out that was interesting was I don't know if anyone remembers, but in Wings of Liberty, they really wanted to do. Oh, this is a very nice big battle right here. I think Wurst is going to clean up this army.
Yeah, and here come a fresh squad of Marines, but they didn't have the nice concave that they needed. These siege tanks are doing the damage needed. Finally, Zerglings are there. They're going to go ahead and take them down very quickly once they get in range like that. Bye-bye siege tanks. Zerglings take care of them. But at what cost, really? I mean, both players are down to about 124. Very even out of both players. They're going to go ahead and macro up like a boss. Resupply their armies. Looks like nice saturation on this 4th base. His 5th base is up and running for ViperXkT. His natural expansion is about half. But, you know, Wurst also has his own expansion as well. Both these players are playing very well. Teetering on the edge of loss, really, on both sides. And looks like Zergling's going to be caught off guard. Blown up by these siege tanks. And what you were speaking of earlier, Ultralisks, they're there. Oh, there we go. Finally, Wurst got a clean-cut win. He makes the command center lift off. But at what cost, really? Here comes Viper shoving his forces down Wurst's throat.
We better get there in there before those Ultras come out. Something I want just to mention real briefly in regards to the Infestors that you were mentioning earlier is that they were talking about Wings of Liberty of making that change to make them a projectile. But I guess that meta, or the way that game that was set up, is that they couldn't do that because fungal growth was far too important at that time. Whereas in Heart of the Swarm, now that they have more options now, fungal growth is really an afterthought for a lot of people, once again, like it was back when it rooted you for 8 seconds.
And look at that. Beautiful fungal growth catch most of the Marines. Going to go ahead and push forward, but these siege tanks are doing the major damage needed to the soft, squishy Hydralisk, really. Finally, looks like medevacs are going down. Marauders, Zerglings. The Zerglings there that took care of that 4th base are finally there into the battle, clean up the siege tanks from behind, and Wurst is, might be able to pull this off, especially if he gets a nice little Ultralisk count. He has 2 building right now, but 10 Hydralisks. I would actually have to see those Hydralisks, about half of that, to pull out 3 or 4 more Ultralisks instead. Because right now, all you're seeing out of your opponent is really Marines and Siege Tanks, nothing else really, and those Ultralisks will just chew through those guys like butter.
Yeah, but they really would, especially now that they do 40 damage to everything as opposed to 40 to just armored and Wings of Liberty. That was a huge
Yeah, I
buff
mean,
for them.
I learned that the hard way when, 2 Ultralisks chewed through 18 Zealots of mine, and yeah, that was a hard lesson to learn. But here we go, Wurst with Zerglings, Hydralisks, Infestors. It looks like the beefed up, cool skinned Ultralisk. I want this creep spread to be a little bit more. Where are those queens there to spread that creep? I would actually like the creep to be about halfway through the map, and he very well could be, especially the way Viper's been playing very passive, just letting Wurst do what he will, honestly. And there's really no reason for that creep spread not to be halfway across the map.
Yep, that's something that can be such a hindrance is when, especially this late in the game, the creep spread has the capability, if you leave it unchecked, to be at your doorstep about 2-3 minutes ago.
And definitely, and right now Wurst is going to go ahead and try to surround this planetary fortress. It looks like it might go down. The Ultralisk at the front, exactly where they need to be. The one downfall of Wurst's army, though, is very downgraded compared to Viper's army. I mean, the Viper's army is at about 2-2. Fungo Gross landing perfectly where they need to do. He's trying to reposition his army exactly how he needs to do. Ultralisk in the front, Hydralisk in the back, Infestors for support. Looks like the infantry for Viper might be taken up, but again, these siege tanks are the saving grace of Viper's battles. They managed to clean everything up, and those upgrades paid for themselves with only a couple of infantry units left, but the damage was done to this 4th base.
Yep, that is very much true. The Zerg player lost that 4th. If we would have been able to keep it, I would say that was a great trade, because now you're on a 4th base, it's still safe. And then you can go ahead and grab a 5th base, and you're sitting 2 bases ahead, hunky dory, singing a jaunty tune. But
yeah,
that's not
and
the
in
case.
that entire battle, Viper actually managed to take down Wurst's 4th base, but at the same time, he just retook a 4th or a 5th, now a 4th, down in the southern portion of the map. So this entire battle pretty much just was null and void with the fact that he was able to drop those Marines at Wurst's 4th base and take it out. So both players are again at square one. Looks like a 24-minute baneling nest. Exactly what you want to be doing at the moment. That's an interesting choice. What do you think on that? What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I haven't seen that many Marines on the field for Viper. Really, the siege tanks are the ones that are causing them the most problems.
Yep, exactly. And one thing is, if he's going to get banelings, if he's going to use them at all, I really want to see centrifugal hooks and better creep spread. If he has centrifugal hooks, better creep spread, and got a good flank on him, then that could be doable, especially with his unit composition and just the way this map works out. He could easily swing around one side because of how fast Zerg naturally is to swing around and set up a nice flank. A nice flank can win battles by
and it's
itself.
kind of odd that these Infestors are actually doing the job the Banelings are naturally supposed to do with those fungal growths, especially the way he's been landing them now. Viper's going to go ahead and pull back one siege tank, but dies for its efforts. One siege tank goes down. Fungal growths on a couple of these Marines, Marauder forces, but again, the upgrades are just too strong. Looks like Viper's already on 3-3, and there are no forces left on for the Zerg player to be even able to click on him to find out his upgrades. So effing LOL. But yeah, really the saving grace for Viper was those siege tanks doing the damage they need to do from long range, obviously what they're meant to do, and the upgrades. 3-3. I think it was at the time of the game was over. It was I think it was 2-2 upgrades, but for the longest time he was at 0-0-1. So a great game. I actually enjoyed this game. Creep spread really needs to be worked on by Wurst. A couple of queens there spreading that creep would have been great, especially with the passive nature that Viper was playing. Viper, what could he have done different to make this game just a little bit easier, in my opinion?
Well, I mean, definitely he did the right thing as starting out on those drops. I mean, maybe doing those just a little bit sooner. He also had the option of doing, Marines or Hellbat drops. I guess it doesn't really matter which, because they both are really great at killing workers, and Hellbats are a lot better at killing buildings than you
So
think.
drops just a little bit earlier.
But
yeah, these guys are masters. Huh?
Yeah, otherwise he played great. Otherwise,
great
he
game
played
by
great.
Viper. That's it for this replay. I hope you guys enjoyed. If not, leave comments down below on what we could do to make these better. If you guys have one of your games you'd like for us to cast, feel free to upload them to one of the major replay sites. Drop.sc is very popular. GG Tracker is getting up there as well. That's it for me. Let's hear your parting war cry, Nav. Beautiful. I'm out. Later, guys.
Peace.
Nice.